The calm you feel now is not detachment, it's safety. And that truth is uncomfortable because it contradicts everything you were taught. You were taught that calm means you stop caring, that ease means avoidance, that if your heart isn't racing, something must be missing. So when the chaos ended and your body softened, you started questioning yourself. You wondered if you became cold, if you shut down, if you lost your capacity for love. But your nervous system was telling a different story. It wasn't shutting down, it was standing down from vigilance, standing down from emotional labor, standing down from bracing for inconsistency. That calm arrived after years of being on alert. And that matters because detachment feels empty. This doesn't. This feels grounded. This feels present. This feels like you're finally inside your body. Instead of managing it, you didn't numb out. You settled, and no one warned you how foreign that would feel. You were conditioned to associate love with effort, with anticipation, with emotional highs and lows, with waiting, with hoping, with managing disappointment quietly. So when your body stopped doing that, your mind panicked. It looked for the old signals, the tight chest, the overthinking, the urge to explain, the pull to fix. And when they weren't there, you wondered if something broke. But nothing broke. Something finally ended. The survival pattern, the emotional overfunctioning, the constant readiness to be less, so connection could stay intact. That's not detachment. That's recovery. Detachment disconnects you from yourself. Safety returns you to yourself. And this calm is full of awareness. You're not dissociated. You're observant. You're not numb. You're discerning. You still feel. You just don't flood. You still care. You just don't chase. You still love. You just don't abandon yourself to do it. This calm didn't come because you stopped wanting intimacy. It came because you stopped confusing intensity with intimacy. Your nervous system learned something new. It learned what it feels like to not be on guard, to not rehearse conversations, to not scan for shifts, to not monitor tone, to not translate behavior. That absence of tension is information, not loss. But when you've lived in dysregulation, regulation feels strange, almost suspicious. Your body keeps checking. Is this real? Is something about to happen? Am I missing something? That questioning isn't intuition. It's habit. A habit built in environments where safety wasn't consistent, where love required alertness, where closeness came with cost. So when calm arrives, without withdrawal, your system needs time to trust it. This is why you didn't feel excited. You felt steady. Why you didn't feel sparks. You felt grounded. Why you didn't feel urgency. You felt present. And presence is what safety feels like. Not boredom, not detachment, not settling. Safety. Safety doesn't pull you away from life. It brings you back into it. You sleep better. You breathe deeper. Your thoughts slow down. You stop narrating everything. You stop searching for meaning. In silence, you stop explaining yourself before you're even questioned. Those are not signs of emotional shutdown. They are signs your nervous system is no longer under threat, and that can feel disorienting because chaos was familiar. Calm is new. This is the moment. Many women self-sabotage. They mistake regulation for loss of passion. They reintroduce drama just to feel something recognizable. They go back to dynamics that keep them activated because activation feels like connection when safety has been absent. But your body knows better now. It recognizes the difference between absence and peace. And this calm is not empty. It's spacious. It's the space where your intuition can speak, without being drowned out. It's the space where your needs surface without panic. It's the space where discernment becomes possible. You're not pulled. You're choosing. You're not reactive. You're responsive. And that shift is not small. It's the beginning of self-trust returning, not loudly, quietly, through regulation, through noticing, through no longer forcing yourself into emotional positions that require bracing. This calm is earned, not through effort, but through listening to what your body needed all along. That calm didn't arrive all at once. It crept in quietly. At first, you thought something was wrong. You weren't replaying conversations. You weren't bracing for impact. You weren't preparing explanations in advance. And that absence felt unfamiliar. So your mind went searching. What did I miss? Why don't I feel anxious? Why don't I feel the urge to fix this? Why am I not chasing clarity? Because your body already has it. Clarity doesn't always come as an answer. Sometimes it comes as relief. And relief is not indifference. It's resolution. Your nervous system stopped fighting because the fight ended, not the relationship, the internal one, the constant negotiation between what you felt and what you were taught to tolerate. For a long time, you lived split. Your body knew when something wasn't right, but your mind overruled it. You explained. You rationalized. You gave the benefit of the doubt until there was nothing left to give. That required effort, hypervigilance, self-silencing. And when that pattern breaks, your system doesn't celebrate. It exhales. That exhale is what you're feeling now. And because you're emotionally intelligent, you noticed it. You noticed you weren't activated. You noticed your reactions softened. You noticed you didn't feel pulled toward the familiar chaos. And instead of trusting that, you questioned yourself. Because somewhere along the way, you learned that love is supposed to hurt a little. That uncertainty keeps it alive. That if you're not worried, you're not invested. That calm equals complacency. Those beliefs don't come from truth. They come from adaptation, from relationships where safety wasn't guaranteed, from environments where attention was inconsistent, from love that required monitoring. Your body learned to stay alert because alertness kept connection intact. So when alertness is no longer needed, your system feels strange, not because something is missing, because something finally stopped. That's the part no one explains. Healing doesn't feel euphoric. It feels quiet. It feels steady. It feels like fewer thoughts crowding your chest. It feels like less urgency to prove your worth. It feels like choosing rest without guilt. And when you've been praised for endurance, rest can feel like failure. You were rewarded for being the strong one, for holding it together, for understanding others more than they understood you. So when you stop doing that, there's an identity shift. Who am I if I'm not managing everything? Who am I if I don't overextend to stay connected? Who am I if I don't explain my pain so it's easier to digest? You're still you, just without the constant tension, just without the self-abandonment, disguised as loyalty. This calm is not you pulling away. It's you no longer leaning forward to compensate. There's a difference. Detachment is numb. This is aware. Detachment avoids feeling. This allows it. Without overwhelm, detachment disconnects. This integrates. You still feel sadness. When something ends, you still miss what mattered. You just don't collapse into it. You don't lose yourself inside longing. You don't bargain with reality. That's not coldness. That's containment. Containment is what safety builds. The ability to feel without drowning, to care without clinging, to love without self-erasure. This is what happens when your nervous system no longer associates love with threat, when affection doesn't spike cortisol, when connection doesn't require vigilance, your body no longer confuses intensity with intimacy, and that rewires everything. You stop romanticizing emotional unpredictability. You stop mistaking inconsistency for chemistry. You stop needing closure from people who never offered clarity because your system learned to self reference. It trusts what it felt, not what it was told to accept. This calm allows you to notice how quickly you sense misalignment, how clearly your body responds before your mind catches up, how little energy you have for dynamics that require you to override yourself. That's not avoidance, that's discernment. And discernment feels neutral. It doesn't rush, it doesn't panic, it doesn't argue. It simply recognizes. This is why you don't feel the urge to chase answers anymore, because your body already answered. And this time, you listened. You didn't need a dramatic ending to validate your experience. You didn't need them to admit anything. You didn't need one last conversation to explain your worth. Your system reached completion on its own. That's maturity, not emotional distance. Emotional autonomy, the ability to stand inside yourself without outsourcing your stability, without needing someone else to confirm what you already know. This calm protects you, not by hardening you, by anchoring you. You're less reactive because you're more present. You're less triggered because you're more regulated. You're less confused because you stopped overriding your internal signals. And that doesn't make you unavailable. It makes you selective. Available only where safety is mutual, where connection doesn't require self-sacrifice, where your nervous system doesn't need armor. This is the calm that changes your standards without announcing it. The calm that makes misalignment obvious without confrontation. The calm that lets you walk away without explanation because your body already closed the loop. You didn't become detached. You became intact. There's a reason this calm feels different from anything you've known. It didn't come from distance. It came from alignment. For most of your life, connection required effort, not effort like care, effort like compensation, reading between lines, adjusting your tone, shrinking reactions, softening truths before they were spoken. That kind of effort keeps the nervous system alert, always monitoring, always anticipating, always preparing for emotional shifts that weren't yours to manage. So your body learned to stay slightly tense, even in moments of closeness, especially in moments of closeness, because closeness was never guaranteed to be safe. It was conditional. It depended on how easy you were, how understanding, how little you asked for. So when that condition disappears, the body doesn't celebrate, it recalibrates. And recalibration feels quiet. It feels like less thinking, less narrating, less explaining yourself, internally and externally. That's what you're noticing now, not absence, efficiency. Your system no longer burns energy, trying to maintain connection at the expense of self-trust. It no longer confuses attachment with overextension, and that's unsettling. When your identity was built around being emotionally available at all costs, because availability used to mean self-sacrifice, now it means self-presence. You didn't close your heart, you closed the leak, the place where your energy kept draining out, trying to keep something alive that required you to disappear. That's why this calm doesn't feel dramatic. It feels sustainable. You're not chasing reassurance. You're not waiting for messages to regulate your mood. You're not scanning silence for meaning. And that absence of urgency can feel unfamiliar. almost suspicious. But safety doesn't demand proof. It doesn't test you. It doesn't pull you into loops. It simply exists. And when you've lived without it, your system needs time to trust it. This is where many women mislabel their growth. They say, I think I'm detached, but detachment feels hollow. This doesn't. This feels clear. You're still emotionally open. You're just no longer emotionally porous. You still care. You just don't leak energy into dynamics that can't hold it. That's not avoidance. That's boundaries integrated into the nervous system, not rules you recite, signals you feel. Your body now responds. Before your mind rationalizes, it tightens sooner. It softens sooner. It doesn't wait for permission to tell the truth. And because you're listening now, there's less internal conflict, less second guessing, less self gaslighting. You're not asking, is this okay? You're noticing, how does this land in me? That shift changes everything. Because safety isn't something you negotiate for, it's something you recognize. And once recognized, it's impossible to unfeel. That's why you can't go back to relationships that require emotional bracing. Not because you're cold, because your body refuses to pretend again. You're not detached. You're calibrated. Calibrated to what's mutual. Calibrated to what's consistent. Calibrated to what doesn't ask you to override yourself. And calibration is quiet. It doesn't announce itself. It just makes misalignment obvious. You no longer need a dramatic reason to leave. Your nervous system knows before your mind constructs language. That's why the calm stays, because it's not dependent on external behavior. It's anchored internally. This is emotional maturity from the inside out, not restraint, not suppression, integration, the ability to feel fully without losing yourself, the ability to stay present without chasing reassurance, the ability to choose connection without abandoning regulation. That's why this calm doesn't make you distant. It makes you honest. Honest about what you can hold. Honest about what costs too much. Honest about what your body will no longer negotiate. And honesty like that doesn't feel intense. It feels clean. There's a moment that comes quietly after all of this. Not relief, recognition. You realize you're no longer trying to be understood by people who don't have the capacity to understand you. And that changes how you move. You don't explain less because you're guarded. You explain less because you're clear. You don't withdraw because you're afraid. You withdraw because your body knows when engagement is unnecessary. That's not detachment. That's discernment, settled into the nervous system. You're not reacting. You're responding only when it matters. And the calm stays because you stopped forcing connection where your body felt unseen. You're not performing emotional availability. You're practicing emotional honesty with yourself first. That's the part no one warned you about. When you stop abandoning yourself, some connections fall away without conflict, no explosion, no closure speech, no proving, just quiet distance. Because your system no longer reaches for what destabilizes it. That can look like detachment from the outside, but inside, it feels like coherence. Your thoughts match your sensations. Your boundaries don't require defense. Your intuition doesn't need justification. You trust the signals before the story forms. That's safety. Safety is not loud. It doesn't demand certainty. It doesn't rush attachment. It doesn't need intensity to feel real. It allows space without threat. It allows silence without panic. It allows difference without self-erasure. And once your body learns that, it won't unlearn it. You can still love deeply. You can still desire closeness. You can still feel tenderness, but you won't confuse those feelings with obligation. You won't chase resonance. Where regulation is absent, you won't override discomfort to preserve connection. That's the difference now. You're not unavailable. You're not detached. You're self-led. And self-led people don't need to convince. They don't need to prove. They don't need to explain what their body already resolved. This calm is not the end of desire. It's the end of self-betrayal. It's what happens when your nervous system finally believes you will listen to it. That trust is what keeps you grounded. Not walls, not distance. Trust. If this landed in your body before it landed in your thoughts, that's not coincidence. That's recognition. You're not late. You're not broken. You're not detached. You're regulated. And regulation is where real connection begins. If this brought clarity, let it settle. You don't need to do anything with it right now. Just notice how your body feels when you stop questioning your calm. That's where safety lives.